Good.
We are calling this meeting to order. We're going to proceed with the roll call. Mr. Jean Lindgren,
Present.
Mr. Carlos Fernandez,
Absent. He's out of town.
Mr. Rafael Miner,
Present.
Mr. Jose David Gonzalez,
Present.
Mr. Guillermo Tich,
Present.
Mr. Luis Hinojosa,
Present.
Mr. Rafael Dueñas,
Present.
Mr. Arturo Domínguez,
Here.
Mr. Hermilo Richard,
Present.
Mr. Gonzalo Prida, Mr. Jerry Jason Hinojosa, Mr. David Puig.
Present.
Good morning. Good afternoon. At this point, we do have quorum, and I'm going to call the non-voting members: Ricardo Cervantes, Mr. Eduardo Garza, and for the staff member, Ms. Yvette Limon,
Present.
Mr. Ken Richard,
He's here.
He's in the back.
and Mr. Cesar Garza. Moving forward to the item number 3, do we have any public comments?
I don't think anybody filled in any comment card.
Okay,
Nobody for
we don't have,
comments.
at this point, we don't have.
Chairperson, I'm sorry.
Yes?
We didn't get the roll call for the gentleman
Com-
sitting next.
Oh, I'm sorry,
William Young?
William John, I'm sorry, I didn't have it on the list.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comments? Okay, no public comments. We are moving to item number 4. Approval for the minutes of September 15, 2021.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Arturo Dominguez, second by Mr. Dueñas. Votes in favor?
Aye.
Votes against? Motion carries. Item number 5, we have, okay, Mr. Gonzalo Prida, welcome. Item number 5, items for discussion. We have the presentation by CBP regarding the FAST, CityPath, and other programs initiative. And we have Mr. Albert Flores, for Director of Laredo, and Mr. Javier Vasquez. Welcome to the podium, Mr. Flores.
All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. For those of you that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, again, my name is Alberto Flores, and I am the Port Director here at the Laredo Port of Entry. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon to talk to you a little bit about some of the programs and initiatives that we've implemented here in the last several months at the Port of Laredo. Just to kind of give you a little background, so about maybe around this time last year, we were experiencing some heavy congestion, long wait times, and of course, receiving a lot of complaints from our stakeholders regarding the obvious traffic issues at the World Trade Bridge specifically. So the team then started looking at ways to kind of alleviate some of those wait times, and some of those initiatives we kicked off, of course, with the help of some of the stakeholders. Since then, we've actually been able to reduce the wait times at World Trade Bridge drastically. Nowadays, you really don't see the long wait times that you would normally see this time last year. We've talked to some of our trade stakeholders, and in particular, of course, some of the carriers, and of course, some of the importers, and a lot of it has, been result of what we've done, have, given us a lot of positive feedback. So for the Port of Laredo, as you know, it's the busiest inland port of entry, processing roughly between 2.3, 2.4 million trucks annually. So we look at the stats from last year and compare them to the end of this year. And I can't really, make these official numbers because they really haven't been vetted at headquarters, but just to kind of give you an estimate, if we're looking at as a port overall, we increased our overall traffic numbers by 12%. And that's for both traffic processing at World Trade Bridge and at Columbia.
It's up to this point right now in October, right?
Yeah, so the end of September, meaning the end of fiscal year 2021. And we compared those to 2020. Again, 12% increase. We're processing roughly about 9,100 trucks daily as a port. If you break it down by import lot, roughly between 65 to 6,700 of those trucks are being processed at the World Trade Bridge. And then again, about 23 to 2,400 trucks being processed at the Columbia Bridge. If we're looking specifically at our fast cargo, we have seen about a 31% increase of those shipments being offered at the Port Laredo. Now, to be able to process or to cross a truck under the FAST program, you have to be CTPAT certified. So CTPAT is a voluntary program that is offered to the importing community. Obviously, there are some requirements, and the best way that I like to describe CTPAT to kind of let a lot of people understand is like, for those of you that have global entry or Sentry, it's very similar to that, but this is on the trade side of the house. But again, it's offered to the importing community. So normally for a fast shipment to qualify, you have to have the manufacturer, the importer, and the carrier CTPAT certified. The last piece to have that cargo offered to at the port of entry as a fast shipment is the driver. The driver needs to have his fast card, in hand or approved by the fast office to be able to cross that shipment. And our fast drivers, like the Sentry and Global participants, undergo a 24-hour vetting daily to ensure that the driver is, in compliance and hasn't done anything that would violate his participation in the program. So, again, we process about 1,500 shipments at the World Trade Bridge that are offered under this program. Right now, the Port Laredo has about 5,300 drivers that are approved to cross at Port Laredo with the fast card. Really hard to give a number as far as the companies that actually utilize the Port Laredo, because again, a lot of these companies have multiple companies in Mexico and in the U.S., so a lot of them can have CTPAT certification, but we were able to narrow it down to roughly about 150 different companies that actually use the Port Laredo. And that number can obviously be a lot more if we were to break it down by the subsidiaries of all those companies. But again, these are the one partners that obviously are considered low risk and really don't demand a whole lot of inspection. One of the benefits, of course, is that they have access to the fast lane on that bridge. As you know, we have partnered up with the City of Laredo, and there's a construction of 4 additional lanes at the World Trade Bridge that will be located outside the facility. And if you're looking north on the bridge span, it's a direct shot, from the bridge up through these fast lanes and out into the interstate, which is going to be a huge benefit for our CTPAT fast participants. Again, we're really looking into increasing our participation of importers in this program. And I realize that right now there is a huge challenge of getting new companies enrolling in this program to get certified. And a lot of that is attributed, of course, with the people that do these validations in Mexico because of the security risk in certain parts in Mexico, and of course with the pandemic, have really, delayed a lot of these certifications for the CTPAT specialists that go down and do these verifications. But again, working with our headquarters group and this particular office, they've kind of expanded some of these certifications to go virtual. But I think right now it's only for those existing companies and not new. So again, we realize that it's a challenge, and it's again something that obviously headquarters is gonna have to find a way to overcome if we really want this program to work, to expand here locally. But again, hearing it from our stakeholders and realizing that it's an important need to be able to grow the program, we're pushing from our side. And again, we tell our stakeholders that we need them to equally do the same to get these people to get these certifications done, because it's an office that's completely sits out of field operation, so it's very hard to get them to go out. I don't know if the group has any questions.
I'd like to start off, first of all, you make the difference to 12% estimated, and it's not an accurate number because you have to get the information, obviously, but can you break that down, like per bridge, or do you have an average more or less? Yeah,
so again, this is unofficial, but so we're looking at about 2 to 3% at World Trade Bridge. and then the rest at the Columbia Bridge. And
10% Columbia, and a lot of that's attributed mainly to the empties, I'm assuming that's one.
so a part of it is, but we did start tracking, when we redirected the non-CT pad empties to Columbia, obviously the immediate impact was going to be those 1,000 empties that we redirected to Columbia. But as the months started going, we started noticing that we also started seeing an increase of loads. Again, we suspect, because again, Columbia was obviously a bridge crossing that not a lot of our local trade community likes to utilize. But I think with more and more trucking companies using Columbia, I think they realized that it wasn't that bad after all, because again, there was obviously some challenging things there for a particular group because of a particular installation that's outside our import lot that deterred some of these people to go out to Columbia. But I think once they started going out there and seeing that the trips actually weren't that bad, I think is attributing to some of those loads actually increasing. And aside, we do a lot of outreach as well. We've done a lot of outreach in particular with our produce partners that use Columbia, and we are seeing those companies shifting a lot of their cargo from other ports of entry to the Columbia Bridge.
So you're referring to the unified entry process then on that?
So part of it is because of the unified cargo inspection that we have at Columbia. Again, it's a different model than we have we do have a unified cargo processing model at each of our cargo locations, but each one is differently. The Columbia Bridge is unique because we actually have our SAT officers, our Mexican Customs counterparts, actually in our facility. They're side by side in our primary booth. So any of those trucks that are participating in this program, the very first stop that they make is on the U.S. side in our primary booths. So at that time, they're getting processed by the Mexican Customs, and then of course by our CBP officers. If that shipment requires an inspection, then that inspection gets obviously a front of line privilege, and it's done jointly, one inspection, and of course it gets released from one site. So obviously it's attracted a lot of importers, specifically to our produce, but again, we do have other participants that participate in that program as well.
And what's the difference between Columbia and Laredo?
So Laredo,
on the
that model was actually adopted as a result of the 2017 storm. Again, we were rushed into trying to move cargo into World Trade Bridge. That model is a little bit different. The only thing that we do at World Trade Bridge is the actual inspection. The whole processing, the Mexican portion is still done on the Mexican side.
But we're looking at advancing that, doing the same thing in Columbia then? Like we had the same process at Columbia, unified entry both on the US side, so we just do one inspection, right?
That's at the Columbia Bridge, yeah.
No, but you're trying to do that here at World Trade Bridge, or is that a process in the future that you're working on? Or no?
Well, we're working on it. So again, when we were asked how we would like our primary booths designed, these 4 new fast lanes that we're building, they're actually being built with the ability to have both the SAT officer and the customs officer, sitting in the same booth. Again, a lot of that will be dependent on whether our SAT partners in Nuevo Laredo would be willing to have their officers, sit there. But we got to realize that they are working with the PITA program that is fully automated, so that might have some issues of whether they can do that or not. But the booths are being designed to have the ability to have the SAT officer do the actual processing there alongside the CBP officer.
Director Flores, would you happen to know if there's data available for produce that's crossing through both bridges, either in tonnage or crossings? We all know that it's one of the trending sectors for our area, and we like to brag and track and whatnot. And I didn't know if there's some information that's publicly available or if it could be provided to us.
I can certainly check. I know that we do run data as far as the commodity lines, as far as what would fall under the agriculture realm. So I tend to say that between 8 and 10% of all the cargo that we process is one way or fashion related to the ag industry.
Right.
So it's around that ballpark.
But it'd be nice to see, if it's available, the monthly trend going back to when we had maybe 1%.
Yeah. Yeah, so we can definitely try to get something for you, but if we were to break it down by facility, it varies, but I think Columbia right now is 60-40.
Right.
If you were to break it down, I think Colombia gets a lot more produce than actually what World Trade does.
And do you agree that most of the drivers come from the interior and cross all the way? They don't do transfer, or they? Or
No, again, historically, drayage is alive and well and has been for a long time, and I think that is still the model locally. But we have seen a very slight increase on the long haul, actually making the
In
long
Colombia?
trip from origin to destination.
in Colombia?
Yeah.
Going back to the percentages of the fast increase, you said that there's a 31% increase. I remember that we had numbers at 20% that was being utilized. Are you saying it's 31% utilized right now overall, or what, you know what the actual number?
31% increase from last year.
Okay.
So we had 100 last year, now we have, 200, whatever, that percentage increase. The the total number of cargo that we process via fast is about 28%.
28%, okay. Taking that consideration, especially the volumes that you have, I know that you mentioned earlier that you're having difficulty with outreach, especially dealing with the small and mid-sized companies. I know the big guys, they're taking advantage of it and they love it because they can move forward, but I know it's still holding up some of the small and mid-sized individuals that can't get the empties, and they're not willing to go to Colombia because of the fact that they have that issue there at the extra agency that you mentioned earlier. Is there, I know you said that we could talk to headquarters, obviously we're pushing that through with Manny Garza, which is the CTPAT director, but is there anything else Laredo can do, can kind of push the fast lane and push the CTPAT locally so we can kind of get more involvement with the smaller and mid-sized companies?
So we're doing, all we can. I know that soon after we made the Columbia Bridge designated for the non-CTPAT, we've been working with the carrier organizations in Nuevo Laredo. We've had multiple outreach events, kind of trying to educate them what, CTPAT is all about, what are the requirements and stuff like that. So we've done all that, and we continue to do that. We have an open line of communication with those associations, understanding that you do have some companies, that really haven't had an interest in that, but now they might have. But I do want to say that although we do realize that there was a small number of carriers that were affected as a result of this move, there was also a high number of companies that have actually benefited from this move, because these same small companies that were affected with the move, those same small companies are moving loads through World Trade Bridge. So you just gotta understand that they're also benefiting from this move as well.
We learned in our prior meeting from Carlos Fernandez, who's not here, he said that it went from a 3-hour to a 30-minute cross.
Yes.
Time. So,
Yeah, it's actually made a huge difference. Who would have thought that 1,000 trucks would make a difference? But it's definitely, again, if you go out to World Trade, you used to see the long lines, and now it's usually a half a bridge, or sometimes 3/4 of a bridge, but nowhere near of where we were at prior to this move. Again, we talked to our drivers, and again, a lot of the drivers before in some of these initiatives would make maybe between 2 and 3 trips. Now it's between 3 and 5 trips. So again, it's helped them as well.
So if I may ask, right now, there isn't a number if the drayage has gone down from the local drayage back and forth to the over the road, that has kind of helped out that process, or it's that practice, and I know you had asked that question, but has it gotten better where now the over the road from Mexico comes straight in and vice versa, or is that just not happening? It's the same practice?
Yeah, so historically, again, the long haul hasn't been all that popular here at the port, although we do have some companies that would run that model. But it's just, I would say, and again, you have the experts here sitting, but I would say maybe 90%, 95% of stuff moving across the bridge is via drayage.
Mr. Flores, and going back to the produce, that we have better clearance on Colombia, is that because of the Mexican collaboration, with the Mexican Customs collaboration, or?
Yeah, so it's a combination, a combination of many things. Obviously, just the shorter lines or non-existing lines at Colombia probably has a lot to do with it. Of course, the UCP program, because our program does include not only SAT, but Senacica. So obviously, it's a huge benefit to have Senacica on site, because again, these types of shipments do require inspection, and sometimes these inspections do encounter some issues, either a pest or something that would require the shipment to either be treated here in the U.S. or for whatever reason having to go back to Mexico. But by having Senacica here, that process just gets facilitated so much faster without any delays. And, you know, what would normally take a day or two to occur is now, you know, being resolved in a matter of hours by having the Mexican Senacica group there at the Columbia Bridge, I'm sorry.
Albert, just for clarity as well on that one, in order to get in the UCP program, the qualification is on the Mexican side, even though the process is done on the US side, so you have to be approved by Mexican Customs in order to be involved, right?
So it's the OEA, they have to have OEA certification, and of course, depending if it's the produce, it's OEA, and I'll turn to Javi if I'm correct or not, but it's OEA, and of course, on our side, which equivalent to that is CTPAT. So you have to have a combination of both.
They have to approve you before you can start going on, doing the process. on the
So
US
we
side.
do it in a coordinated effort, but again, at the end, it's the SAT officials at Columbia that would make the determination.
My last question.
Oh, no, that's-
I know the fiscal year just started, but with inspectors, do we have enough inspectors? Do we have enough overtime money? Do we have all of that?
So I think the Port Laredo is sitting pretty good on staffing. I think we're a lot better than we've ever been in years past. Again, we have
That was
plenty of
something-
staff to support the increase that we experienced this last year and probably potential increases in the next year or so. So our ag specialists as well. Yeah.
Taking into consideration next month's where they're allowing essential personnel to be crossed as long as they're vaccinated, are you gonna be taking away staffing from the bridges to work on that? Is that gonna affect us in any way?
No, actually, we do not see any potential impacts to staffing levels or moving or reassigning officers from one location to another. Again, luckily, we're sitting very good with the number of personnel at all our locations, so we're not gonna experience any of that.
Taking that in consideration as well, will that help us out with the CTPAT certification, allowing those more individuals to cross or no?
So again, unfortunately, the certifications for CTPAT are done by our supply chain specialists, and it's of course Manny Garza's group. Again, they're outside my scope, and again, I can push all I want, but they have, their chain of command that needs to approve it. And a lot of it relies on the State Department's issuing of the security in the area. I don't know where Tamaulipas sits right now, but again, considering how things, are, I don't know if they'll lift those or not. I think, personally, my opinion would be that they consider these virtuals that they're already doing for existing companies for news.
Thank you.
I do have another. What I've seen a lot is the increment on drugs. I know it's a bad word, but a lot of increment in drugs in cargo. Is that a fact, or
I'm sorry?
the difference between 1 year and the other on catching drugs in cargo? I mean, I've seen a lot of
Yeah, so
an increase
unfortunately,
in drug.
unfortunately, as we know, trade wasn't impacted with COVID, with the exception of the first couple of months last year. But the one area that has not let down is the smuggling of contraband. For the Port Laredo, we saw increases in all the different types of drugs that we intercept, and it's pretty frightening to know that we're seeing a lot more cocaine, a lot more heroin, a lot more methamphetamine, a lot more fentanyl. These are dangerous drugs that they're trying to get into our communities. So
This is prior to COVID and then COVID.
well, even since last year, we started seeing that trend of the harder narcotics being intercepted at the port, and a little bit more this year under COVID.
Any more questions?
I'm sorry, the easing of restrictions for essential travel for non-commercial crossings, November 8th, I believe, is the date that's been communicated by the Department of Homeland Security. Some of the rules or even changes for people that are flying in, whereas before they could show a negative test within 72 hours.
Correct.
Are any of these restrictions going to impact the global trade community?
No.
Drayage drivers, commercial drivers?
No, so you'll have two separate buckets now that we'll have to, process at the port of entry. Of course, you'll have everything that's being processed currently, which will remain status quo. And then you'll have the separate group of individuals, which are people that do not have an essential reason to come across, that if they're vaccinated are going to be allowed to come in. So they don't affect the current status of the essential travel right now.
Thank you.
Tengo una pregunta, tal vez esté un poco descabellada mi pregunta. ¿Cómo podríamos iniciar que el Sentry o el CityPad pudiéramos instalarlo en el checkpoint de la Villa 30?
Bueno,
¿A
ha
quién
sido una
tendríamos
idea.
que empezar a ver? Digo, es descabellada, pero no mucho porque por avión tenemos Global. Y decía Jean, ahora que abran el puente, las filas allá también son muy fuertes, muy grandes y nos perjudican a los locales.
Yo sé que algún tiempo hubo plática con la patrulla fronteriza sobre la iniciativa de establecer algún programa similar en el checkpoint. Sí le dieron inicio al programa PAC, no sé si se acuerdan.
PAC.
Fue un programa que sí le dieron inicio, se me hace que ya no existe, no estoy seguro 100%, pero era algo parecido, pero no totalmente como el FAST en la área de carga. Sobre el Sentry, digo, no creo que haya una razón que no se pueda hacer. Obviamente es algo que yo puedo tomar para atrás como tarea para platicarlo con el Chief Hudak, porque sí entiendo que a veces sí es poco difícil cruzar el checkpoint por el volumen de tráfico, sí, y él como yo tiene sus his challenges. Tiene sobre nomás suficiente área para procesar. Entonces tiene muchos carriles, pero a llegar al checkpoint es el problema que tiene él, que no le puede dedicar más carriles a ciertos programas. Eso sería el problema.
Es que es muy importante porque muchos de nosotros vamos de trabajo. Entonces la gente que viene de vacaciones, pues a lo mejor se puede quedar 2-3 horas, pero nosotros sí buscaríamos algo más rápido, más fácil.
Sí,
Gracias,
lo
Mr.
entiendo.
Flores.
Yo puedo empujar por lado mío, pero a mí se me hace que si es posible pedirle cita al Sector Chief, a Mr. Hudak, y proponerle esta idea. Y nosotros estamos dispuestos a ayudarle, porque obviamente somos los expertos en el puente y obviamente les podemos enseñar qué sería lo mejor darle inicio al programa en el checkpoint.
Perfecto. Thank you.
También, perdón.
Una adición, a TxDOT recientemente habló de expandir otra fila para llegar allí, en conjunto a lo mejor se puede hacer más rápido.
Sí, iba a decir igual, si hay 2 carriles, no importa si tiene un Sentry, esas 100 carros y camiones enfrente de usted.
Ese es el problema.
That'll push the Sentry thing also. I mean, a benefit as well.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. And
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you, Chairman.
It's a pleasure. It's
Thank
easier
you.
time of you. Thank you. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Flores.
now we are moving forward with item number 2, presentation by Ms. Yvette Limon, Bridge Director, regarding the World Trade Bridge Fast Lanes Relocation Project, Northbound Waiting Motion Project, and timeline for the World Trade Bridge Expansion Project, and any other matters incident thereto.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the committee, Yvette Limon, Bridge Director for the record. I will provide you an update as of September 2021 on the projects that are ongoing and planned for World Trade Bridge. Starting with the Fast Lane Relocation Project, Mr. Flores mentioned more detail of what the project will consist, and I will give you an update on the actual construction. Summit Building and Design continued work on the Fast Lane Relocation Project throughout September. Despite rain delays, construction has reached the 15 to 20% completion range as of the end of September. The inbound roadway was paved. As more black base is laid, rain will have less impact on the construction. There was a water line that needed to be relocated, that needed to be located, and it was successfully located, and the sewer lines were installed. A U.S. Customs and Border Protection contractor removed the existing Z portal that was there temporarily, and the concrete base was broken up. Summit's plans were confirmed, assuring conduits were located correctly for the first radiation portal monitor foundation, and this allowed work to begin on the RPM foundation. As far as the way in motion scales project for the northbound lanes, SEA advanced the design of the way in motion scales at the existing exit of the port of entry to the 95% stage by the end of August and transmitted the submittal on September 1st to Transcorp, our toll collection system provider, for their technical review and comment. Transcorp's review comments were received by SEA on September 27th, and the SEA team was working toward the final 100% submittal to Transcorp, and it was supposed to be submitted. It was submitted to them Tuesday, October 12th. Estimated project schedule at the existing 5 exit booths go out for bid for civil construction sometime in January 2022 and complete the construction in May of 2022. Install and test WIM equipment so that the system is operational by the end of July of 2022. Estimated project schedule for the new fast lane booth area is complete construction in July of 2022 and install and test the WIM equipment so that the system is operational by the end of August of 2022. The World Trade Bridge expansion, as you all know, on September 17th, the City Council held a special workshop on Laredo's international bridges. Mr. Sid Milky discussed the expansion project, the requirement that the expansion project seek and receive a presidential permit, and related issues such as the revised process for presidential permits. Council voted to move forward with the expansion project. On September 25th, a meeting was held at the Bridge 1 conference room. Mr. Milky answered questions from Mayor Pete Sines, the City Manager Mr. Eads, Congressman Henry Cuellar, Tamaulipas Governor Francisco Javier Garcia Cabeza de Vaca, and Interim Nuevo Laredo Mayor Arturo San Miguel on the expansion project and other related ongoing construction projects. All participants expressed their strong support for moving forward quickly, and they committed to form a special work group. And Mr. Milky committed to preparing the application for the presidential permit within 6 months. SEA and King Advising took the initial steps to reactivate the work on the expansion project and prepare for the many actions that will be needed. They contacted several firms regarding the environmental work and civil engineering consultants regarding the surveying work and the full hydraulic analysis that will be required. King Advising reached out to key federal stakeholders, including the U.S. Department of State, CBP, the U.S. General Services Administration, and the U.S. Federal Highways Administration to advise them that the city had decided to resume work on the expansion project. King Advising currently began collecting the data needed to prepare the presidential permit amendment. The action items or next steps for the fast lane. SEA will continue to perform construction coordination and management activities throughout the construction of the project. On the weight and motion scales, SEA will incorporate the Transcorp review comments into the 100% plans and specs and prepare the bid document package to be completed at the end of November 2021 so that the project can go to bid for construction. On the World Trade Bridge expansion, SCA will kick off a meeting with the city to discuss moving forward with the expansion project and the many actions that must be taken, including the presidential permit application and the environmental assessment. Among the key issues that are planned to be discussed is scheduling regular video conferences among SEA team members and city officials. Resume notifying the State Department, resume the agency coordination with U.S. federal and state agencies, coordinating the Tamaulipas and Mexican federal officials, including the creation of a binational work group so that the coordination can occur on both sides, the U.S. and Mexico. So that's the latest update on our projects at World Trade Bridge.
In the breakfast with the mayor I think it was last week, he mentioned that this expansion is gonna take almost 5 years. Is that timeline sounds correct for you?
I don't know about the 5 years. I know we're trying to expedite it as quick as possible. I guess getting the agency coordinations and everybody to agree on a design and move forward. If the 5 years, I know construction time, they indicated anywhere between like 12 months for construction, but I don't know about the agency coordination that it would take that long. But once we meet with the city officials and they give SEA directives moving forward, and as I hear an update on the timeline for the, I guess the plans and the preparation of the presidential permit amendment, I will provide you an update.
I have several questions.
Sir.
On the fast lane, the target date was April 2021. I mean, we just want to understand, and we want to help, if this committee can help on delays, because we had the way in motion scale also for December 2019. And so we would like to know what the delays were. Is it about money? Because we were understood that Mr. Cuellar had funded a lot of these projects at World Trade Bridge. And so we just want to know, how can we help to move these things faster? Because, I mean, 15 months later and 3 years later, wow, that's a lot of time.
Right, I understand. Mr. Dominguez, thank you for the question. And it was a long process. Going back, as you know, it's through the CBP Donations Acceptance Program. So it involved a lot of agency coordination through General Service Administration, Customs and Border Protection, the City of Laredo, our consultants, with the funding coming from TxDOT. It included TxDOT. SEA, when we submitted the application for the project to be approved through the DAP, we had a plan in mind, and then along the way, when the previous director of field operations was in Laredo, then that's where the equipment came into play, the Z portal and the RPMs. So the design had to be redone to incorporate the changes on the design to incorporate the equipment. So that kind of threw us somewhat back and start the whole process again in changing the design and getting it approved by everybody. But the good thing is that we finally got it done. I know it took long, but a lot of agency involvement, a lot of meetings, and currently to date, we still have our bi-weekly meetings with all the agencies involved to kind of give updates and let everybody know where we're at. So it's very well coordinated and finally ongoing, but yes, I do know it took some time, but hopefully everything will be constructed soon. I know the contractor is pushed for time to kind of speed it along the way. So hopefully the completion of it is kind of not what I'm letting you know today, and hopefully sooner. But I understand the frustration on it taking too long to get started.
And the right turn, who's responsible for the right turn that was supposed to be completed March 2020?
That
Who's
right turn
Uh-huh.
will also be based on what Mr. Milky has advised us, is that because of the widening of I-69 West being done by TxDOT, it's gonna pretty much take care of most of that curb, and then the rest of it will come in and finish it off.
Mm-hmm. So it's gonna be the city that's gonna finish that?
Yes, yes. There are no funding issues. All our projects are funded. So it was just pretty much the design on, and I know no excuse on SEA, but they were focusing on the fast lane project and kind of left the whim to to the side for a while, but they're picking it up, and we hope to get that project going hopefully sooner than the timeline.
Do you have a cost for the presidential permit? How much they cost? You have no idea?
I know Sid had provided us with preliminary numbers for the expansion, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Yes, I know it's an amendment to the presidential
amendment.
permit. It's not a full presidential permit.
These are kind of estimated costs that he provided me a month ago. He has here presidential permit application, 0.35 million or 350,000. 0.35, he has it in millions, 0.35 million. Conceptual design and studies, 0.7 million. US and Mexican coordination, 0.5 million. NEPA clearance and public involvement, 0.5 million. Final design and other permits, 1 million. US construction cost, just a half on the US side, between 6 and 10 million. And project and construction management, 0.6 million. Of course, these are estimates.
22 million approx.
They may change.
Thank you. So it is expensive to get a permit.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, I'm guessing it involves a lot of studies. You gotta turn in the application, probably not the permit fee itself. What it takes to get all
Part
the
of
information,
permit to submit, yeah.
to get the whole packet together, it takes a lot of engineering and studies and analysis. So I'm guessing that's the cost.
Yeah, but
I don't
this
think it's a precedent of $350,000 fee.
Well, I mean, since
Oh,
it's an
the
amendment, it's a little
coordination.
bit different than it's a complete presidential permit. And I just wanted to hear what the price tag was on
That's
something like
their
this. That
anticipated cost, of course.
we didn't have knowledge of that.
Mr. Mon, you made reference to the DAP program a little while ago on a project, and you said there was some funding, you were working through. Is this, are the stakeholders involved, or is the city involved in providing funding as well? Because it sounded, you only mentioned government agencies.
$8 million are being funded by TechStop, and the additional 2.3 from the city. Several years back, it was allocated to the Bridge Department to fund the city's portion of this project.
But there's no, private sector funding or none of that? Okay.
No, sir.
Thank you.
Solo para precisar, Ivette, supongo que nos vas a dar un update durante el proceso de construcción, ¿verdad? No vamos a esperar un año.
No, cada mes les
Qué
voy
mal.
a dar.
Gracias. Ivette.
Y no tener que necesariamente traerlo aquí a la junta del comité.
Sí.
Al momento que
Por
yo lo
mail.
reciba, se lo voy a enviar por correo.
That's okay. Thank you.
Y así se van informando cómo vamos y se mantienen informados durante todo el proceso de la construcción.
Perfect.
And even if the committee needs to get more involved with the project and in the meetings and everything with the expansion, so we can make like our part, like pushing this to be done like as fast as we want to, please let us know.
Definitely. Once we kind of get going on the project and start having coordination meetings, I will let you all know and include you in the meetings.
Mr. Mon, not to pressure you on this as well, but taking into consideration what Ms. Lena said earlier, that said the mayor estimated 5 years. You said that's just an estimate. You really know what the actual time frame is?
I don't know. Once we meet with SEA and the consultant team and get more information from him, then I'll know for sure the timeline of how long it would take.
But listen to CBP earlier, you could sit there and, my understanding was the numbers that were presented to us earlier, that we're at 85% capacity on World Trade Bridge alone. And just hearing today that we have 2 to 5%, I mean, we usually hear 5% as a standard number. We heard the increase up to date right now is only 2%, but we're seeing taking into consideration supply chain issues that are going through Long Beach. I'm sure that we're gonna have some increase here at the Port Laredo. So let's stay on the average 5%. I mean, 5 years, we're pushing at the limit right there. So hopefully
Right.
we can kind of fast track and, give us information. We can kind of see what we can do. Like Monica said, we can still move forward and kind of, I know we're an advisory committee, but we can kind of do some input at least, so thank you.
Right. I will make note of that and let them know during the meeting. Thank you. Any other questions?
No more questions? Well, the following number is also yours, update on the insufficient fund fee and any other matters incident there too.
So, this topic, has been discussed throughout pretty much all of our
Always.
meetings, except last month because of the Bridge Master Plan. But, you were provided the statistics for September for Colombia and World Trade, and as you can see, pretty much the numbers continue the same. I did follow up on your ask if we can force them to leave a credit card on file, and I was advised that we can't kind of force them to leave a credit card and use it when they don't have funds. Our staff continues to work hard in calling these customers and informing them of the delay that it causes everybody else that does have funds. Keep just coordinating it with the customers and encourage them to enroll in our auto replenishment program, because we do have a program through our collection system where they leave their credit card, they indicate the threshold amount. If their balance goes below their set threshold, then their credit card will automatically be charged the amount that they so indicate to be charged. So we will continue.
Well, it looks like there's been an increase, so obviously they're not taking us seriously. So, I mean, is there a statutory or regulatory change that could be done or advised by the council that make sure that we can go ahead and proceed with having a credit card on file, or a recommendation that we could do to kind of move this forward, because it's making a big difference, and like we said,
Right.
we're actually having an increase.
Well,
So-
my initial recommendation was proposing charging them a fee. And it's ultimately up to you, the committee, to decide if that's the route you want to take. And then I would need to present it to city management, and if they agree with the recommendation, then prepare the agenda item and bring it before council.
Because there's 103 U-turns, which is 30 companies that did 103, and that's 3 times or above. Like I said before, the 258 the one time, well, that's probably a mishap or whatnot, and that's still a lot. But then 72 did 2 times, so that's already, so I don't know if we could recommend something on after the first time, get 1 time free, maybe to start off, and that's gonna bring down the 500 U-turns to probably 200 or 300 a month, which is still a lot, big number, but if we bring it down 40%, I think it's gonna definitely be helpful to the trade community. I would have loved Mr. Fernandez to be here now that he's a member of the Association of Transportation Carriers in Mexico. I don't know how feasible it is to get the names of these people. Is it public record or not? Or if you together with the association ask for help directly with the association and see if they could contact them directly? Because, last month, one guy had 9 U-turns, that's twice a week, and we have two accounts with 6 U-turns each. So that's 12 U-turns for 2 companies in total. So that's just unorganized, taking advantage or just not planning, and it's affecting,
Irresponsible.
irresponsible is the word.
Yes.
That's what I'm-
Are you saying that one company that has 2 accounts did 6 U-turns, and one company has 3 different accounts?
Two companies had 6 U-turns. That's what accounts.
Okay, because then you have all the way down.
2 companies had 6 U-turns each.
Yes.
Yes, let's say my company and your company, we had 6 no-fund U-turns
During that month.
during that month.
And
That's
then
how
all the
that
way down
reads.
to 258.
And then 3 other companies had 5 U-turns.
Ms. Limon, can we have that on because we are focusing on these 2 accounts, and I think that will resolve if we just penalize them or we just find something to do with those companies. But what worries me is the 258 U-turns. Do we have data if they are the same companies from the last month and the previous month? How often is the same company month to month? Even it's just one, but it's the same companies?
I'll let Mr. Richard answer. He's the one that's
Good
compiling
evening.
the data for
Good
me.
evening, Madam Chairman and members of the committee. Kent Richard, Assistant Bridge Director. We've been tracking this for 4 months now. Basically, at World Trade Bridge, we have seen 2 accounts that have basically had U-turns 3 of the months or all 4 months. It seems to be different people all the time, different customers. Right now, for the month of September, we've had 7 accounts that had the majority of all the U-turns. All the other ones were just 1 U-turn here and there. So it varies month by month. Again, repeating myself, 2 accounts at World Trade Bridge has had crossings of.
Every U-turn, every month for the past 4 months.
Of U-turn.
Every U-turn. Varies how many, but every month they're on it.
Now, keep in mind, we have 3,800 commercial accounts right now, so this month we had 358 U-turns at World Trade Bridge.
No, 358 accounts, but 500 U-turns.
Yeah, we had 502 U-turns.
Yes.
But of the 502, it was 358
Companies.
account
Yeah.
companies, holders.
But the actual cost is per U-turn. Do we
Right.
know how much it costs the city to actually stop traffic and have that U-turn done?
It varies. It could be 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how much traffic is coming down the roadway. What we'll do, we'll hold the truck in the lane, and we want these vehicles that are coming to cross, we want to put as many through as possible, and then we'll hold the traffic and allow this truck to U-turn. We don't immediately stop traffic
Do that.
and get this man.
But right now, there's no
or this
consequence
driver.
to them. There's no consequence right now to them. You just do a U-turn and you continue to do U-turns every month. And I would agree with what Milo mentioned, but not per month. If you do 1 U-turn, let's say every 3 months, that's okay. But if you do 1 U-turn every month, then after the second one, you get some type of fine. It's disrupting traffic.
Right.
And if there's no consequence, it will continue to do so.
Right.
You know, what we could do as well, just to put more effect on this, is put a time frame on here and so we can see the actual time involved. Because looking at the numbers, that's 26%, it's not that much, but the involvement, like you stated earlier, sometimes it could take 3 to 5 minutes, it could even take 40 minutes or an hour, and how much disruption it is.
Well, I think we have that, remember the video that KGNS, even was there live, and it was from 8 minutes. So we did that average. I think that's, but like I said, you guys probably figured out how you make it easier and you bring down the time.
Right.
But again, you guys are working on, thinking how you get, how to correct the wrong.
Right.
We're supposed to be thinking how we make the port better
Right.
and not.
Yeah, our objective is to make sure that, hey, we wanna sell it, and if we can't sell it by telling them, hey, it's taking this much time, it's gonna make an effort, it's gonna be a better selling point for us when we go to council, because it's an advisory committee, we wanna make sure it sticks.
Right.
Now, what we're doing also, when they come to the lanes, they have no funds. We are giving them a memo in English or Spanish, letting them know themselves, if they're the account holder, or for them to notify their company that this is impairing, the industry. It's delaying the ones wanting to cross. Put money in your account. Now, what we're also doing, I gave this information to our front office, and they're contacting these companies and letting them know, hey, please put money so the industry can cross much quicker.
Can we think of something now as a committee and possibly, after so many more times, is initiate a fine? And since we have record of all 38 or 35 people or companies, say, you're gonna be fined. You have so much more by this month, you're gonna be fined, and propose it to the council. It depends on the advisory committee. But that's the next thing. I don't see what else that there is, because you're already letting them know that. So they're they know they see it. They're causing traffic jams. And so now you gotta hit them in the checkbook, unfortunately, but that's the next thing.
Now, keep in mind that sometimes it's not the driver. He's not aware of it until he gets into the lane.
Right.
Oh,
And
no,
then you
it
see
has
his
to be the
expression
company.
like,
The company will take
Fine would be to the company that owns the account.
Yeah.
Sometimes they wait there in their truck, or they get down and wait in our customer
That's not
service
their fault.
center and wait until they deposit money into their account, and once they know that the funds were deposited, and they go back to their truck and then they cross, so.
And even that causes delay.
Even that causes a delay,
Ms.
yeah.
Limon, can we add it for the agenda next month, motion with possible action, so that we can at least vote on something?
Well, can we move it right now? I know, it's our recommendation only.
It's a recommendation, but at least we have a motion and we can vote and.
Is
we
to
can-
initiate a fine.
We can initiate a motion.
Yes,
Well, it's an item.
yeah. It's up to you if you wanna,
Yeah,
Post
to
it
bring,
first.
to
If,
bring.
if,
week,
if, if
and-
somebody
At the end
makes
of
a
the day,
motion,
it's for her to make a recommendation to
and
city
maybe
council.
give it more thought
I want to make a
and
recommendation.
give me ideas as to like a progressive fee
So,
schedule or something.
The rates for a crossing vary from from $90 to $120. The average profit for each dredge truck is $15 to $25, $30 what they could make. So if you fine them $5, it won't hurt them. You don't need to fine them 100. You know, even if you fine them $30, $40, $50, you know, they're losing money on that freight. And that company that's doing 6, 5, and 4, you know, they're losing a lot of their profit. So I think even just a small fine would definitely,
Well, but can
the
you
first
imagine,
try to get their attention.
can you imagine the rest of the countries or what or the rest of the other people that need their merchandise, how they're getting hurt or could be hurt?
Oh, yeah.
So maybe get them from the first time. I don't want to hurt anybody either myself, but
Correct.
I think maybe it needs to be what that one profit margin is, up to what that one load is the first time, because $5 or $10 is not gonna do anything. Maybe what it's costing them to take the freight over, just a thought.
Yeah, just one, and
Yeah.
we're hopefully that one time, at the end of the day, the city doesn't wanna make money out of it. We wanna make sure our traffic is not being caused by unnecessary activity going on or delays. And I know Ms. Perez, which, she's here with us, it's one of her, areas of biggest opportunities that her constituents always, call her about the traffic jam. And this is an unnecessary traffic jam that we cause. Cause we already went over this, we got the numbers, 10 minutes, 8-minute delay, it's 100 trucks at 5 o'clock, at 4 o'clock, maybe at 11 a.m. it's not that much, but 2, 3, 4, 5 p.m., 10 minutes, that's 120 trucks, 200 trucks getting delayed, and that backs out.
I think the important thing here is to stop the U-turns, just put a fine at the moment and let them go. So we cannot stop the traffic, especially on World Trade Bridge. Let everybody go, give at the moment the fine, you're fined with $50, go. And then you have to pay it by 24 hours or unless your account will be suspended or something like that. But I think the biggest mistake right now is stopping the traffic at the bridge. So we cannot, I mean.
That would be the best, but I don't know on the credit department how that works.
502 U-turns, the cost of the port, 10 minutes. You're talking hundreds of hours, personal, the truck stopping, so.
And
For
you
my
just
son-
bill them, you
Yeah.
have them in their account, the next time when they're gonna run it through, they know that they're gonna owe that charge.
but what's gonna happen if they do it like 3 or 4 times
Then they
and the
stop.
city cannot collect the money because
But you stop
mostly
it at the third one.
are
or something
Mexican
like that.
companies, remember,
But they
mostly
cross.
they're Mexican
The business is
companies.
crossing. If they don't pay, you can't cross, and you can't
Right.
change, I don't know how money
but
companies
they-
comes out.
they-
And
they
open a new
They can, they just
Yes.
debit their
Yeah.
account and it will be done.
But the license plates or or how do you control?
No,
it?
it's by account number, by the tag.
They just switch the tags and all the trade.
They will debit their account and that subject will be done.
Once you're
I have one thing, analyzing the 4 months, we have an average of 475 U-turns. Then the percentage is 0.2425% of those coming back. And then I've divided this thing in 3 big groups. One U-turn, it has an average of 241 trucks turned back. And then the next group, that is from 2 to 4 U-turns, they have an average for this 4-month period of 85.75 U-turns. And then 4 or more, we have 6.5. So we can start up like putting a fine in the second group and up, as Mr. Prida was proposing, and we'll find out if that works. I'm sure that these 258 to 241 U-turns will be taken off of consideration. So let's say if we go from 2 to 4, put a fine, and then the next group or 4 or more would have like a higher fine, we can solve the problem.
I know that when we had our initial meeting, we had already given recommendations, penalties, credit card, and some other ideas. I know they said the credit card is obviously not an option. Now about the penalties did they say that was a viable option, or was that thrown off the table as well? Where we stand with that?
Oh, on the penalties, I kind of haven't, penalizing the
The
account
as
holders, I
we're
don't
discussing
have-
right now, yes.
Yeah, no, that's still in kind
So
of
right now,
your-
like as I mentioned earlier, we make a motion to impose a penalty or a nominal penalty to affect the individuals that are causing this situation.
Then-
That would assist us and move forward with that, right?
That you would.
And as mentioned.
How
yeah.
much, and I
So-
prepare the document, present it to council, and let them know that the
Remember,
committee.
the one that's gonna be
decided on this.
penalized is the one that has the credit, the license, well, who applied for it, right?
company.
It's a company.
account holder,
It's a-
right.
Yeah.
The driver is just a driver, unless he's an owner-operator, but it has to be.
But it will be the company because they're basing it off the tag anyway, so it's not gonna go to the individual driver.
Ms. Limon, it
Individual
won't,
drivers.
yeah, it won't make a difference if they like debit their account the same as, if they have an overweight, it will be debited from their account. So it will be the same thing. If they just cross and they have no balance or zero balance, charge them the fine and it will be credited towards their account. If they have credit card or not, they will have to pay. Otherwise, the account will be canceled.
But most important, we need communication with the user. We don't have communication nowadays, so we have to have all this, the phones of the drivers, all the telephones of the drivers. So in that way, we can create a software that we can communicate with these companies that they don't have enough funds, because there's another way that the driver will know.
Well, Gonzalo, we're not in kindergarten. They know they're running a business, and
No,
us,
but-
we're run
yeah, but-
businesses, and we have to have. You can't write a check without having funds. You can't send a check to
Agree.
your
But
credit card or
for-
to the
for
IRS
all-
or to
all the other
anybody.
things, accidents, emergencies, or whatever you want, we need to communicate.
They are
with the
communicating. That's
drivers.
what Mr. Richards is saying.
But if you go overweight, they won't ask you, they just charge you and that's it. So it's the same thing.
You know what, I wanna make a motion then, if allowed, that we go off with $50, as a penalty, with the first one a warning, the second one a $50 penalty, and escalating $25 above after every same incident to the same individual.
I second
that's
the
just a
motion.
yeah.
Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Second by Miller Richard. Any other discussion on this topic before we proceed to vote?
Do you have the manpower or the program to be doing warnings and everything? I mean, just go with a penalty. I mean, they're gonna learn that way, that's it, I mean.
Yeah, but I'm looking also at the 258 accounts, the smaller ones, because those are, and just give them that one-time warning, the second time, I'm sorry, man, because
would-
especially the next
it
month,
would
as stated
cost-
earlier.
Is
yes, no.
delaying everybody.
By doing a warning, it would cause more delays because the collector in the window has to
No,
call
there's a-
inside,
there's a
they
vote.
have to check the
They're doing
history
that
on
now,
the
though.
account.
They're doing that now
They
without a
just call
formal.
and say,
yeah.
funds or no funds, say no
But
funds.
probably we can do like this, three groups. Let's say the first group, charge them $20. If they have from 2 to 4, $50. And if they have more than 4, charge them $100.
Unless the system can do it automatically, I think it's gonna be a lot of manpower.
It will be done, yeah. It can be done through a
Unless they
system.
have a
And
system
the
that
system
can
can
be
do
done.
it with the
That's how
penalty?
they got the information, so probably,
There's already a start, there's already a second, there's already a start. There's already a first and a second on the gentleman's motion, and
We're discussing.
We are in discussion. We have to discuss and then
We can amend the motion.
Yes, we
as
can
to
amend the
include-
motion. Uh-huh.
Yes, so.
So, Ms. Limon, let's say that we go for the penalty. The system can issue automatically a charge to the account for the amount of the penalty. That doesn't mean that the user has to come and pay the penalty, but the penalty can be charged automatically to the account if there's no funds?
No, if they get to the lane and there's no funds, we would have to create a form, they complete the form. And at the end of their shift, the collector will take it inside and then somebody manually the next day would have
Oh,
to verify it and then enter the penalty.
So when
amount.
he goes out of the U-turn to pay his, or to make a deposit for the $25 that needed, at that moment, you don't need to tell him, okay, you have to add the $25 plus $50. That's what would help, I would think.
But that'll be applied on the next cross, basically, that's what you're
Correct.
saying, right?
yeah, it should.
I have a question.
Ms. Limon, what do other bridges do? What do the other cities do with this situation? I mean, because I don't want it to become a competitive issue where, Laredo's, penalizing too harshly, and I know it is an issue, but, I'm wondering if there, like Mr. Frida said, like, maybe there is a communication issue. Maybe we talked about an app last time. We talked about how the users might not have access to the program. But it seems like there's a solution to this that we haven't identified yet. For some reason, I'm seeing that. But to go back, what do other bridges do?
I haven't talked to the other bridges to see what they do. Have you? No. Okay, we need
Because
to go back and check what the other bridges are.
Well, I think but when we first brought this, I had asked that for what do other bridges do, so I think that would have been an important
I'll
part
make
of
sure,
this.
but I know.
Ms. Pettis, considering the volume, I'm just looking at, you're looking at 350, 360 members that are actually violators, and some of them are repeat violators.
Right.
So I mean, they're continued repeated violators, because it looks like there's some individuals that have increased it for the last 4 months since we've been keeping a report on this. So I just think it's a nominal fee. I think that we should move forward with this, and based on the motion that's already been on the table. Just sit there and make sure that they,
Guys recommend is fine, but I'm just.
And then whatever we recommend, I think then city council or has to
be
approve, and they
vetted,
can make
so.
they can make their adjustments and not 53 times, and they'll go into the details with you guys. We're just an advisory board, we recommend, and you go with the idea.
It was brought up also that.
But, Ms. Perez, we have.
Wait a minute, once at a time, please, once at a time.
Also,
Ms.
the
Perez.
point was brought up was that also the other bridges, you can't compare the volume that we have and the danger that we have in our area, I mean, to Progreso, no disrespect, I like to do a lot of business over there, but there's not that much truck traffic compared to what we have here. There's an issue, guys, so it's in front of us. We're an advisory committee just to recommend, and we're having good conversation, but we need to start it. And when there's a one in the second motion, yes, we're into discussion, so I think, and it's up to you guys, council, to make that agreement or not.
I know in meetings back, as a follow-up, I think it was Mr. Frida that indicated to do like text alerts. I went back and asked for a quote for that type of notification, and it would cost us about $24,000 for implementation, and then the city would need to do procurement with a third-party service that would kind of send the message. So it's gonna cost us a lot more to send a message, whether they acknowledge the message and comply with the message. We won't know. I mean, right now they have the ability to check their balance online, their computer, their
Ms. Limon,
phone.
probably it's a good idea if we like improve the system, but as of now, we can't, so we can make a solution of what we already have and then move on and make a better thing. Council member.
Do you think it would be easier for the police to give a ticket? Yeah, that you don't have to deal with them.
That's right.
They can
They
Councilmember.
can.
give them a ticket for not
It's
having
impeding
funds.
the traffic. Yes, you can give them for impeding traffic.
Yeah.
Impeding traffic.
Keep going.
Chihuahuas.
You know, and
Please let Mr. Fitch talk.
You know
Like,
what?
Aline.
giving them a ticket also would probably not
So we'll go to the driver.
affect our competitive edge.
Yes.
It's harsher than
I think,
imposing a
We do
fine,
have information from Columbia Bridge. If you compare those two, it has like it's too little. We have like 24 accounts that had one U-turn, and then 3 accounts for 2 U-turns. We do have the same thing, but it's in a much lower ratio. So the problem is like here in Laredo. Probably if it can be done in both bridges, so it won't have any difference between those two, but the numbers are very low here.
I'm going back to your concern about the cost that we are gonna have. That is something that it's on the hands of the user. If they don't wanna have the cost, they have to just monitor their accounts. So it's not that we are gonna affect the trade. It's just we are going to educate the trade to be on top of their accounts.
And adding one thing,
Mr.
sorry, Gene, sorry.
First of all, I agree with Mr. Puig that we can't really compare our bridges to anybody else's. If you add up all of the other bridges across the entire border, we still have more crossings than all others combined. So we need to lead the charge. We need to fix the issue. We have, just as Councilwoman Pettis says, we don't want to make our port less competitive. And reputation is in word of mouth, and bad news in the press is dangerous. Obviously, we deal with that every day on other issues. But I think finding repeat offenders is an easy sell. I really do. Thank you.
Milo?
Just to add, just to add to Councilwoman Perez's and the competitiveness of the port, and I totally agree, and that's what I think what this port, this committee is all about. But I guess first, before you guys, Limon passes on to City Council, we have to make sure that the users do have correct information from the portal now. We don't want later to increase a fine, they come back like, well, your portal's down half the day, or the balance is 24-hour updated, not updated at the minute. It's bad. So we have to make sure that at least on our side, we're giving the users their information, and then from there, they have to have better business practices to make sure they organize themselves. I think, I'm thinking we do have it.
Yes, currently our system updates every 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So by the time they go into the front office and deposit and walk back and get in their truck and take off.
So we give the users the tools for them to have.
Yeah, but
okay.
The system doesn't send any notification that there's no fund on the account. So we need to put the system that send the notification you're low balance, and same as when you cross with the yellow light, send to the users. So
There is a notification sent to the administrator of the account. There is notification of the low balance.
When they charge it,
Yes,
yeah.
Mr. Puig.
If I may, if I could amend your motion is also to add signage at the crossings, or when they're gonna, so everybody knows that that's coming up, that you'll be fined if you don't have the proper notice.
I would like to make the amendment, I think that we gotta start getting cost involved in it, because the fact of the matter is, we're just trying to prevent a problem.
Or to do, sir,
To do research on how much it would cost to include signage, or, and to make sure that we balance the cost out, because we don't wanna sit there and come out with a negative as well on that.
so everybody knows, it's a sign, I mean, we could donate the sign if you all
When
want.
they open the account, you will be fined if you have no funds. Just let them know, you have the memo, you don't know.
And I'm sorry.
Going
I'd like
back
to
to
say that we're
competitive
finding repeat offenders, right?
That's
Most of them
The word
are.
will get out.
Yeah, that's true. However, if you have it on, I'm gonna open an account, and it states right there that I'm responsible to have enough funds to clear. We, as part of the supply chain, we all have our responsibilities. And it seems that the repeat offenders that we see every month are doing so because there's no consequence whatsoever.
The bottom line, the repeat offender, it will bring more competition to the port if we go from that side on.
I'll just make the motion for the adjustment as well, but just also make a comment in reference to, we've already requested at least evasive a recommendation, which was turned down, basically, having the credit card on file. So with this being said, I'd like to make the motion to include the signage as well, so.
Okay, you are meant, you are
Amending my
meant-
motion to include a $50 penalty on first of warning, second penalty with an increment of $25, and include signage on the modules to ensure that there will be a penalty imposed. Or however the recommended vetting, once it's properly vetted, to make sure that we can go and put the proper signage on there, so.
If I may say, currently when a customer opens up an account, they set what their no balance is. And when a truck gets to the lane, if I set my account, I put it at a $50 low balance. When I get to the lane, it'll give me a light saying no balance. So it'll notify the company that it.
So there's already signage there.
Right, and then
Notifies the driver.
once the truck gets there and then all the funds are depleted that don't have enough to cover that next vehicle coming through, then it'll say no funds. But prior to that, when it hits their low fund, wherever they set that number at, the system will
Yeah,
notify.
when I was thinking of signage, it's just a signage to say that's there, you know, you're driving by, you read.
A physical sign.
It's there.
A physical sign.
A physical
That they'll take a picture and they'll
I
make a
mean, exactly. I mean, if you have to go to that level, I mean, how much more do you wanna let them know? You're gonna write them a letter too, I mean.
Okay, let's proceed to vote. Votes in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, votes against? Motion carries.
Okay, I'm gonna want to work on the motions and work on the suggestions and bring back, I guess, the final, plan. And if you're okay with it, then we proceed forward. Is that?
Director Limon, just to add something, when we present the suggestion, is the safety of the employees of the bridge. It's also a big concern. Because I'm sure that every U-turn, one employee is there. And it's the safety of that employee that we need to protect as well.
Yes, and us as a trade user and the association, we need to spread the word and give a period, a grace of period, like, to let them know, like, since this date, we are gonna start penalizing so we can move forward and we can expedite all the cargo. So I think that's gonna help. Any other comments with Ms. Limon, so we can move forward, because we have 15 minutes left?
Just the logistics of when the fast lanes do open, will the U-turns be impacted? Or vice versa with the fast lane?
Yeah,
It looks like it probably
it
will.
probably will,
So
because.
that, should the
it-
fine go up
yeah.
once that
Yeah.
happens?
Well,
Fast lanes open, now you gotta close the fast lanes going northbound and turn somebody around that's going southbound?
Hopefully
Yes.
by then we won't have any,
Right.
It's something to consider.
We have to stop doing the U-turn.
zero U-turn.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Limon.
Thank you.
And item number 6, do we have any other business that you want to address at this point? Mr. Lindbergh?
As long as my agenda item can be on the next meeting.
No, pues es el
Okay,
point.
Mr. Lindbergh.
Thank you.
The schedule for, moving forward, item number 7, the schedule of the next meeting, that will be November the 17th, which is the third Wednesday of the month of November,
Wednesday.
November 17th.
No?
17?
Yes, 17,
17,
Wednesday,
yes.
17.
November 17th.
6 p.m., please.
And if I could, can we discuss now, or we can decide at the next meeting, will we be having a December meeting?
A what?
The December meeting,
Well, it's getting close to Christmas.
it will be December 15th. I think we can still have enough time to have it.
We
in
can
December.
decide next meeting, but I just wanted to
Monica, you still have enough time to buy my gift.
plant that seed.
We'll probably move it to the first week of December.
Where are you going?
We can probably move that.
Yeah. So we can be all here.
Okay, do we have a motion? Thank you, JD. Do we have a second to adjourn? Second, by Reyes. Thank you, everyone. Votes in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Votes against? I could vote. Thank you, everyone.
We got a bit of